I'm Ashley,
And I'm Andrea.
and we are two therapists in a podcast, keeping it real. And this is
Woo.
episode 2. Loving me is loving you. So, what we talking about today, Angie? What we
Yes.
talking about?
Girl, we are talking about how you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. Okay? And I feel
Yes.
like we're not the originators of that saying, right? I feel like I heard RuPaul
Right.
on RuPaul's Drag Race say something like that. So we're just gonna
Okay.
keep unpacking that, because
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it is so crazy how there are so many people in like relationships and they do not love themselves. And then their partners are sitting there wondering like, why am I not like experiencing like this Netflix or this Lifetime movie like romance and all of those things? And it's because your
Yeah.
partner don't know how to love themselves. So they can't give
Okay.
something that they don't know.
That is right. So, let me
So,
ask you this. Who do you think
yeah,
taught you how to love yourself?
honey, that is a good that is a really good question because I feel like it's not something that I was taught. I feel like this is a very new thing for like people in our generation, like the ones that are
Yeah.
like 30 up. Like this is a new thing for us to really discover. So I feel like that came
Yeah.
from, unfortunately, a lot of heartbreak. It came from a lot of
Mm.
bad relationships. And I had to
Oh, yeah.
really like think to myself like, man, how can
Yeah.
I experience this great love? Ding, ding, ding. I got to show people how to treat me. And that took an experience of
Mm.
loving on myself. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
how I kind of learned self love. I taught myself. It wasn't from anybody
Yeah.
else. What would you say?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So I do agree that
Mhm.
it had a lot to do with heartbreaks and really unhealthy relationships. But my dad used to say this to me when I was younger. He used to say,
Mhm.
if if you end up with somebody, you got to end up with somebody that's going to love you the way I love you. And my
Mm.
dad loved me, like loved me to the point where
Mhm.
it's as close as my relationship with God. Like that's a strong type of love,
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
he has taught me the importance of loving myself. That if I choose to be with
Mhm.
somebody, they gotta love me the same way and respect me
Yeah.
the way my daddy
Yeah.
respect me, you know?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like a father's love like really does set the standard like for
yeah,
what you accept in a partner. And not to be
yes.
cliche and say like, a lot of like daddy issues can really like play into like what your relationships look like, or
Oh,
even like
yeah.
that dynamic that you have like with your father can influence your dynamic that you have like with a future partner and what you
So
expect.
true.
And
Yeah.
so that's really interesting that you bring that up because that does have a lot of
Hmm.
influence. Um,
Yeah, I've even seen
so
that
how you
with
be loving on yourself? Hmm.
I be loving on myself. I be loving on myself by having self-care days. I don't know about you, but a
Mm,
Saturday or
mm,
Sunday has to be a self-care day. Because if you think about it,
hmm,
we're therapists. We're always on the go. We
hmm,
always got things to do. You're a mom. You got a husband. you know
hmm,
there's always something that needs to be done, and I think that it's important as women
hmm.
that we take care of ourselves. We gotta really pour into
Yeah,
ourselves, because I always tell my clients, if you don't take
yeah.
care of you, who gonna do it? Who is going to do it? So
Nobody,
you got to, exactly, so
nobody.
you got to find time to take
Hmm.
care of yourself. So if that means making sure that the kids are sleeping, to do it then, or if they at school, or if you're at work and you don't have any kids, but if you're at work and you got like an hour lunch or 30
Hmm.
minute lunch, at least get you a five,
Mm-hmm.
10 minute in where you could just maybe do some
Something.
deep breathing. Like I love to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite way of just
Mm-hmm.
breathing,
Yes.
breathing and
Yes.
taking care of myself. Yeah. What about you?
Yes. Yes. You know, I love a good shower. There is
Oh,
nothing that
yes.
just lifts my soul like a shower. And now I see all you TikTok baddies out there with your eucalyptus leaves in the shower. I'm
Okay.
gonna get it. I'm gonna get
Yes.
a eucalyptus leaf. It's coming. It's coming. And just the steam. I could live in a shower. Like I
Yeah.
love that. It's something about it. It just makes me feel really relaxed, really calm.
Yeah.
Nobody can bother me in there because nobody's interrupting you in the shower, really. Like maybe
Yeah.
like in the bathroom, they knocking like, "Hey, can you come out?" No, but the shower, nobody really invades that space. So I love doing that.
Yeah.
That's the best way that I love on myself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Another thing you
Now,
can do
I
is,
yeah, go ahead.
another thing you can do is, like, go for walks. Like, as you know,
Yes.
Andrea, I got a dog. For all you dog
Mhm.
lovers, I love going for a
Mhm.
walk because not only is he getting a walk, I'm getting a walk. So
That
we
part.
just knocking down two
Happy
birds
can
with
be.
one stone. Okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's just good to be outside and take in the fresh air, take in the visuals, the clouds, the trees.
Yes.
There might be birds, I
Yes.
don't know, other
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
way of just taking care of you, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times people avoid doing self-love because
Mm,
they think it makes them self-centered. They think
yeah.
that it makes them a narcissist, like if they're spending too much
Yeah.
time on themselves. And we're not saying that. We're saying like set the intention for you to take care of yourself. Because if you
Right.
don't do that, you are setting the standard of misuse of you.
Right.
And you got to
Right.
stop doing that. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we spend so much time pouring and pouring and pouring into other people that we don't pour
That's
into
right.
ourselves, or they
Yeah.
don't believe that we're thirsty. Sometimes it's
Right.
okay to be a little thirsty. Sometimes it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like
Yeah.
you need to drink up too, and people need to
Yeah.
know that is what you expect of them. But
Yeah.
you have to show them that because if, like for example, if you are taking walks
Mm,
every Saturday and that is something that you do to love on yourself, your
yeah.
partner isn't going to disrupt that time because they know that that
Right.
is something that you do. They might even be like, you know what, I cleared your whole Saturday so you could take that walk. Because that's how I know
Right.
that you love, that's how you love on yourself. And that's how I can
Right.
show love to you.
Right. So let
Hmm.
me ask you this, Andrea, because I think that segues into my next question. So, what do
Okay.
you think what is self-love and what
Hmm.
makes it different from being a narcissist?
Okay, so I think self love is when you are at peace with who
Mm,
you are
mm,
and you enjoy the being that you are.
mm,
And there's nothing that you know that there are faults within yourself, which I think is a big
yeah.
difference between a narcissist because a narcissist
Oh, yeah.
believes that there's nothing wrong with them at all.
Right.
But
Right.
at least with you loving on yourself, there is something in your mind that's like, I might not be perfect, but
Right.
these faults are my own, and that's what makes
Right.
me me. I can change
Right.
them. There is an element of growth that can take place, but it's
Mm,
gonna be all right, and I still love me for that. Mhm.
yeah. I think with a narcissist, though, they never take accountability, honey.
No.
It's always going to be you're the problem. They're never going to
Mhm.
look at themselves. I always like to say,
Mhm.
turn in the mirror around and looking at yourself. Oh,
Mhm.
that's hard. That's like impossible for them to do because they're always
Oh yeah.
pointing the finger. It's your fault
Mhm.
why we didn't go to the concert. It's your fault
Mhm.
why the dishes broke. It's your fault why I
Mhm.
punched you in the face.
Mhm. It's your fault why I don't love myself.
Right. Right.
What I gotta do with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with self-love, you're able to take accountability. You're able to do that
Mhm.
self-reflection. You're able to
Mhm.
say, I've been feeling a little burnt. I've been feeling some resentment.
Mhm.
Let me take some
Mhm.
time for me. Let me do this for me because
Mhm.
if I don't do it, I'm a break.
Mhm.
And I don't want to
Mhm.
break. So
Yeah.
let me pour into myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of a narcissist, do you think
Mm-hmm.
a narcissist can
Mm.
love someone else?
Mm. That's a really good question.
Mm.
Huh.
I think there's a state of denial that takes place, right? Like
Yeah.
they think
Yeah.
that they are actually selflessly caring for someone else. But I don't think
Yeah.
it's in a way that a person would enjoy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm.
It's not that they're not capable, but I think they're not going to be able to love you the way that you
Mhm.
need to be loved and give you the things that you
Mhm.
need in the relationship. Because like I
Mhm.
said, it's going to be hard to communicate with someone that always turns it around and makes it look like you're the problem. It's like
Mhm.
talking to a wall. And
Mhm.
what do we
Yeah.
know about doing that? Talking to a wall, you ain't gonna
Mhm.
get nowhere.
At
You
all.
know? Yeah,
At all. At all.
yeah.
So we know that there is kind of this lack of capacity for someone who's a narcissist. Can you be in a
Mm,
relationship with someone who don't love themselves?
mm. I think I've been a part of many of those relationships. If we're gonna keep it real tonight.
Let's get into it. Mm-hmm,
I
mm-mm,
mean,
mm-mm.
so like I said in the first episode, yeah, I gotta listen to it. You know, I was
Replay.
adopted,
Mm-hmm,
and my grandparents raised me, and to me, they're mom and dad because they had me from
mm-hmm,
I was like under 4 months. So,
mm-hmm.
that's mom and dad for me. But
Yeah.
I always received love from them. But because I didn't have, or I felt like I didn't have the relationship that I wanted with my mom, because she was in a whole different country. I was raised in
Mm-hmm,
Belize, Central
mm-hmm,
America. That's where my parents are from. My
mm-hmm,
mom lived in Fort Myers, Florida, where I was born.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I never got to see her consistently. And I always
Yeah.
felt like, man, did she not love me? Like, what was wrong with me that she
Mm,
had to give me up?
yeah.
The
Yeah.
others stayed. I think I had one more sister that was adopted out as well.
Mm-hmm,
But that always made me feel a certain way that
yeah.
now I'm a teenager and I'm thinking, well, I just need to find somebody to love me. Not
Mm, mm,
realizing that
mm-hmm.
I didn't love myself because when you love
Whew.
yourself, you don't have to look outside of yourself for love from
Mm,
another human being when you love
mm-hmm,
yourself, right?
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
felt like because of that, I got caught up in
Yeah.
relationships, toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships that made me realize, girl, if you don't start loving you, you're going to continue in this cycle of
Hello.
unhealthiness and
Mm-hmm,
toxicity. So the
mm-hmm.
love begins with you. The love
Yeah.
began with me. And once I
Yeah.
realized that, you know, I got to love me,
Yeah.
and the most powerful love of them all is the love of God, what else do
Oh,
I need?
come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
You
We
know,
gon' we
what
gonna
else
start
do I
doing
need?
an offering at the end.
A collection plate.
Come on, come on. Send over
Yep.
the plate. Hmm. And I think that is so valid. Like our experiences really shape and mold how we go into everything. Like especially like when we're talking about love, because
Yeah.
when we're growing up, like if anyone is like Disney fans out there, like Disney has romanticized this whole
Oh,
vision of what love is supposed to be. And it's like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, we're going to get our Prince Charming. We're going to fall in love and it's just going to
Girl.
be beautiful and it's going to be instant. And like,
Yeah.
you don't see everything that happens in between. Like happily ever
Right.
after, that is your first meeting, if we really want to be honest. Like that's
Okay.
not a couple of months after. Like no, that's
Right.
the hello, hi, I'm Andrea, how are you? And
Yeah.
that's it. And then
Yeah.
real life starts after that.
It
And
does.
like it is so difficult, like when you are in a relationship with someone who doesn't love themselves, because it's almost like you're working overtime. You trying to love
Right.
both of you. You're trying to love
Right.
them in hopes that they will catch on to something and pour a little bit back into you. And then you
Yeah.
start doubting yourself. Like, am I deserving of love? Am I giving love
Right.
correctly? And I think that's
Right.
a huge pitfall when someone doesn't love themselves, because it
Right.
puts so much pressure on the other partner. And
Yeah.
there's just that state of confusion that you're in. Like, why is my partner not responding to this? Why am I
Right.
not getting this back? And then you start to think, is this the person for me? Should I be in this
Mm.
relationship? Is this how
Yeah.
all relationships are? Because sometimes we end up falling for the same person over and over and over again until we
Yes.
change how we're navigating a relationship. So
Yeah.
self love is so important, and not to
Yeah.
say that a relationship couldn't thrive, like if your
Right.
partner doesn't like love themselves, right? Like maybe you
Yeah.
have amazing communication. Maybe your partner is aware that they struggle with self
Right.
love. There's
Right.
always room to grow, but when
Yeah.
you are in denial and you not saying, "Hey, I, I think you should unpack maybe how you feel
Right.
about yourself," then that's
Right.
when you have a problem.
Yeah. And just to take it back, right, when you talked about Disney, I'm gonna be honest with you now. Now, we gotta keep it real.
Mhm.
Disney done set us up as women, making us
Yeah.
feel like we living in a fairy tale. Let's be honest,
Mm.
ain't no knight in shining armor coming to save you,
No.
boo. You
No.
got to save you. You
Save
got to heal
yourself
you. That is your
today.
responsibility. It's not another
Yeah.
person's responsibility to do that
Mm-mm.
for you. So this
No.
idea of we're going to live happily ever after, I'm sorry, y'all. That's not real. Because if that was
No.
real, every person in a relationship would be living happily ever after. Like
Hello.
life be lifing. Life be lifing.
Hello.
Ain't
Did
nothing wrong
2020
with
not
it.
teach us that?
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
be lifing. Things are going to happen.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so it's going to boil down to, are we going to be able as a couple to deal with this? You know? And like you just said, I really think
Yeah.
2020 made people realize, yo, I got self-reflection. I got a lot of self-reflection to do. I got some things I need to
Yeah.
work on, including
That
self-love.
part.
Yeah.
That part. And I think that's the thing. Like
Hmm.
I think not that many of us want to say, "Hello, my name is Andrea and I am raggedy." Like, we don't want to take a look in the
Not
mirror and
raggedy.
really talk about what is
Yeah.
going on with ourselves.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we can be so focused on the fact, like, oh, I think my partner has low self esteem and, I think they don't love themselves. Y'all ever heard of that saying, game, Pete, game? Baby, maybe
Okay.
the reason why you recognize it so much is because you might have that problem too.
Right.
You want to talk
Right.
about that?
Right. And let's keep it honest, Andrea. When it comes to
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, if it's possible to not have self-love in a relationship, I really
Mm-hmm.
think the issue, what happens is codependency. Now we depending on each other to not just
Mm-hmm.
survive as a couple, but you can't even hold a fort on your own. And
Mm.
codependency, as we know it, that can be a toxic cycle.
Exactly.
A
Exactly.
very toxic cycle. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you will know that you are codependent on each other when if
Hmm.
one of y'all is having a bad day, the other having a bad day.
Right. Right.
Y'all's energy is too intertwined. Y'all
Yes.
need to break free. Y'all now,
Yes.
and this is gonna be controversial. I know we trying to come together as one, right? But y'all were one before y'all got together. And so
Exactly.
you don't have
Yeah.
to like be like, oh, they're my other half, baby. You need to be whole
Okay.
before. Before.
Yes.
Like, and we need
Yeah.
to stop like saying statements like that because then
Hmm.
it really does continue to get into the mind of like young adults and like even older folk out there still looking for love. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am too independent. That's my problem. I'm too
Yeah.
independent for a half. No, that's
Yeah.
a good thing for you to be a whole
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And like that is the path that you should be on. And I think that's what we're really trying to like get across. Like
Hmm.
you shouldn't have to like search for someone to put you on your journey towards self-love. Do that journey now.
Right. Right. It starts
Yeah.
today. Don't wait till
Yeah.
you're in a relationship, because if we're going to keep it real, when you get into a marriage or a relationship, your stuff is going to come up. Like Erica
Mm-hmm.
Badu said, bag lady. I know I
Yeah.
can't sing, but okay, it's
Hello.
gonna follow you, boo.
Hello.
It's gonna follow you into
Hello.
that relationship. And
Hello.
it's better
Hello.
you look yourself in the mirror, really look yourself in the
Mhm.
mirror and say, you know what? I really need to
Mhm.
work on myself. I really need to learn how to love
Yeah.
me. I really need to work on my
Yeah.
self-esteem and my self-worth and my
Yeah.
confidence. Stop
Yeah.
waiting to get into a relationship expecting your
Mhm.
partner to teach you that. That's not your partner's
Mm.
responsibility. That's
No.
your responsibility.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said like that self love also includes like assertiveness, self confidence, all of those things.
Yes.
These are all elements you need when you're in a successful relationship. Because
That's
what if
right.
your partner is doing trash stuff? Guess what you need? Self confidence to tell
Right.
them, hey, you're being trash. I don't like that.
That's right.
Stop it.
That's
And
right.
that takes time. That takes time. And maybe like in your relationship, you grow into that person, but you got to have a seed. You got to
Right.
keep watering that thing. Like,
That's right.
don't let ish
Yeah.
hit the fan before you decide to really take that step to flourish, to grow, and do
Right.
all of those things.
Right. It's gonna come
Mhm.
up. It's always gonna come up.
Mhm.
Like if
Mhm.
when I think about my current relationship, if I didn't go to therapy,
Mhm.
that stuff was gonna continue to show up. Continue to show up.
Mhm.
And yes, y'all, therapists see therapists too. It's actually quite
Hello.
healthy and a must,
Mhm.
because we're human beings
Mhm.
too. So
Yeah.
when I noticed that stuff was coming up, like for example, like I said earlier about looking for love, I felt like
Yeah.
my birth mom didn't love me. That shows up in my relationship. Well, it did. Until I realized, look, girl,
Yeah.
start working
Yeah.
on you. And not only just work on you, but give
Mhm.
yourself grace. This stuff takes time. This is whatever years of issues.
Yes.
This isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time. And it makes you
Yeah.
brave when you can
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
let me work on this. Let me work on this before I get in the relationship.
Yes.
Let me work on this while I'm in the relationship if you're already in a relationship or a
Hello.
marriage.
Hello.
Because it's going to continue to
Hello.
be a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're talking about that, like so many things like come to mind for me because like really after each relationship that you've been in, you should be in a grieving period. Like you shouldn't try to like
Mm,
rush into anything else. Like really sit
yeah.
down, think about it, reflect on that. Like you just were
Yes.
intertwined into someone else's life. It is okay to grieve
Yeah.
that and to process that because there are so many things that you can learn about yourself in that moment. And like
Oh,
you said, like that's going to show up in your next relationship if you have not
yeah.
processed that.
That
And
is right.
and you have to think about, and we were talking about family boundaries, like in our last episode, you have to really think about a lot of the things that you've learned from your family about love
That's
towards
right.
yourself and about love towards other people. Because
Yeah.
if you were like mistreated in your family, or if you were the family joke, or if
Right.
you were a spoiled princess and everything was given to you, if those two people meet, y'all gonna clash. Because
That's right.
on the one end, you're gonna be like, why are you not giving me all of the things that I need and all of that? Because that
Right.
person has created a dependency on other people. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
need the love of other people.
That's
Whereas
right.
the person who was maybe like the family joke, they don't feel like they need the love. They
Right.
are only focused on themselves. They will deny themselves, and deny themselves.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dance if two of those people were together because then they can learn from each other. Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
almost forcing the other to be like, you need these things. You need people to pour into you. And then the other is
Right.
like, well, you need to learn how to do it to yourself. And so
Right.
my whole example here is you can learn things from your partner, but you also have to take some time by yourself to reflect, to really understand
Yes.
who am I? How have my experiences molded me into the person that I am? And what things
Yeah.
might I need to change so that I
Yeah.
can be an effective partner? Because sometimes you're not.
Right. Right. But you know what, Andrea? That's going to take being open and honest with each other.
Mm-hmm,
Being able to
mm-hmm,
communicate with each other like, hey, this is how I grew up. This is how you grew up.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And what do we want to do different in this relationship? Because every
Yes.
relationship is not the same. And when people get on
Nope.
social media and look at stars and be like couple goals, do you know what that couple went through to get to where they are today?
Hello.
Didn't we just see
Hello.
a whole bunch of celebrities get divorced? And everybody was like, oh, they look so good together, this and that. But you have no idea what that couple went through.
That part. That part.
No idea.
Because I'ma say it, and I hope the Beehive don't come and cancel us. Even Beyonce got cheated on.
Okay? Okay? Halle Berry.
Eh,
And that was years ago.
Everybody got
Yes.
something. Everybody
Yes.
has something that they can work on,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's all about the reflection of that. Like, don't feel like
Yeah.
you have to look at somebody and be like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be like them." No, you be like you. You be
Right.
like you. Do your own
Right.
work, and don't try to compare it to somebody else. Like,
That's right.
just
Right.
have that within yourself. Be proud of yourself. Set a goal for yourself, not according to
Right.
anybody else, but just for you.
Right. What's the
Hmm.
quote? Comparison is the thief of joy. Stop comparing
Yes,
yourself to these couples. When you're in a
please,
relationship, it's
please.
you and that other person. Now, unless because we live in
Hmm.
modern days, unless you in a relationship where it's not monogamous, my bad, polyamorous, right? Where there's more
Polyamorous.
than
Hmm.
one, right?
Hmm.
That's a different story. But if it's you and one other person,
Hmm.
y'all need to have those conversations and figure out how
Yes.
are we gonna make this relationship successful. And it's not
Yeah.
at looking at um which one of the Maury twins is getting a divorce. Is it Tamira?
Tia. Tia.
Tia getting a
Mhm.
divorce. Don't
Mhm.
stop looking at these people
Right.
um for a vision. Like, you have to
Right.
find that within your relationship. What works for y'all?
Mhm.
How are you guys going
Mhm.
to communicate? Like, that is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. So how do
Yeah.
you nurture your relationship?
How do I nurture my relationship?
Mm.
Well,
Mhm.
first, you got to take care of yourself.
Hello.
That goes back to self-love, y'all. You
Mhm.
got to take care of
Mhm.
you first.
Please.
Because if you don't, it's going to cause issues in your relationship. So definitely
Yeah.
have, like I was saying earlier, have your self-care days. Honor you. If you're not feeling your
Yeah.
best, honor that and take care of you. Then, as
Mhm.
far as like how you can nurture your relationships, I think that goes back to like having those open and honest and clear communication with your
Yeah.
partner,
Yeah.
and I think that's how you can nurture your relationship and yourself. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think you have to communicate. Like you have
Yeah.
to live in this space where you're transparent and you're being
Hmm.
vulnerable. And honestly, like that has to start from the jump. Like
Yeah.
if you are uninterested in being in a relationship, say that from the jump. Like don't play games like with people. Like just if you're in it, be in it. If you're not, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another part is really being clear about what you are experiencing in the relationship. Like if your partner isn't giving you the things that you need, you gotta say that. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm talking
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, physically, all of those things. If they're not doing it for you, say that
Yeah.
because a lot of times like we become passive aggressive and it,
Yes.
and sometimes it's so within
Yeah.
us that we don't even realize we're doing it. Like they can be like,
Right.
"Oh, you look nice today. Thank you." Like
Hmm.
because we are upset about something that they did days ago. And you have to
Right.
let them in to say that. And that is how you
Yeah.
nurture a relationship because you're causing that other person to grow and you are growing because you're becoming more assertive. And so you really
Yeah.
have to think about that too. So those would be the two ways that I would say like you
Okay.
nurture a relationship.
Yeah. So how do you
Hmm.
think do you think it's possible to have an unhealthy relationship with yourself?
Girl, yes. And I say it is possible because we are
Hmm.
always so negative and we're always so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
Like and
Yes.
we're hard on ourselves either by creating these exceptional goals for ourselves that are
Right.
just like, are we really
Right.
gonna be able to reach this? Like, come on. Like
Yeah.
bring yourself down to earth. Or we end up trying to deny ourselves. Like, for example,
Hmm.
if I have an issue, I'll either tell myself, like, you know what, it's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And that is
Yeah.
unhealthy because
It
we
is.
end up denying ourselves of the things that we truly deserve. And then we're
Yeah.
just in turmoil and we have this resentment and then we feel yucky inside and now we got an attitude with everybody. And that
Right.
causes so much stress. And we
It
don't even
does.
realize we are making our own selves stressed out by something we're bringing on ourselves. And
Yeah.
we could really just be speaking up and saying, I don't like this. I actually
Yeah.
don't like this at all. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely believe you can have an unhealthy relationship with yourself.
Oh, yeah. And I think
Hmm.
this is the part that people don't realize. How
Yeah.
you think. Now, if your thoughts are negative, I tell my clients that's that stinking thinking. If you got that
Hmm.
stinking thinking that's saying, "Oh, you stupid. You should have done that."
Hmm.
That's going
Hmm.
to affect how you feel. So now you feel
Yeah.
worthless, which then in
Yep.
return affects your habits and what you do next.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
you thinking, man, you should have done it. You stupid. Now you feel worthless.
Mhm.
Now it's like, I'm
Mhm.
just ain't gonna do it. I was gonna go
Yeah.
to hair school and now I ain't gonna do it because I'm stupid and I'm worthless. Like, do you see
Yeah.
like that pattern? That can really
Mhm.
affect you. And that's how you have
Yeah.
unhealthy relationships with yourself. You have to be mindful of how you're
Absolutely.
treating yourself, how you
Mhm.
communicating to yourself. Like,
Mhm.
and that's the part, right? Because if you doing it to you, that means it's okay for other people to do it to you.
That part. That part. That part.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you are trying to
Hmm.
battle thinking like that, I need you to. So we're gonna practice this together. I need you to think of your
Okay.
worst enemy. And
Ooh.
if your worst enemy were to say, "Girl, you stupid. You ain't gonna
Uh,
make it in hair school." If your worst enemy were to say that to you, you see that face? That's the same energy you need to have towards yourself when you say it to yourself.
right. Right.
Because if your
Yeah.
worst, and you need to think of it in that way, like my
Yes.
negative thoughts are my worst enemy.
That's
Because
right.
can't nobody drag you down better than yourself.
Okay.
And don't give
Okay.
anyone else
Huh.
that much power or control over you to do that.
Right.
And you really have to think
Right.
about that. So I want y'all all to do that. Whenever you having some negative thoughts, I want you to
Yes.
visualize your worst enemy saying, "You stupid,"
Right.
and then change it, and then battle yourself and be like,
Right.
"Me, I know I'm not stupid. Pass me by, pass me by, because you're looking crazy." No,
And you know what, Angie? I
yeah,
think we got to take it to another level. So,
let's do it.
all of us have an inner child in us, right? Would you
Yep.
tell your inner child that? Would you tell your 7-year old self that they stupid?
Mm, that part. That
Because
part.
wouldn't that be damaging to yourself? Or if y'all
Right.
have children, would you tell your child they stupid?
Right. And
Now
if
their
y'all out here
behavior might
saying
be off, but they're not stupid.
they're
Okay?
not stupid.
And
Yeah.
you be
And
ready to fight if a teacher told your child they was stupid. So why would you do
hello.
that to yourself when your
Right.
child or your inner child is a reflection
Hmm.
of you? You
Yeah.
gotta be kind to yourself.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
You be ready to
I
fight
love.
somebody.
You be ready to fight. I mean, y'all are
Yes.
ready to fight when somebody cuts you off on the street. Like, you
Right.
need to think about it in that same way. The negative thoughts are
Yeah.
cutting off your positive thinking. Like, really,
Yes.
and take that for real. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
you will do stupid things. That don't make you
Right.
stupid though. Because we
Okay.
all make mistakes, and you have to
Yes.
have some grace with yourself. And
Yes.
sometimes maybe just sit back and be like, "That was crazy. That was dumb. I
Right.
don't even know why I did
Right.
that." Hmm.
That's right.
Speaking of dumb stuff, what is the most ridiculous lack of boundaries relationship you done ever had? I want to have a story time.
Ooh,
Just
lack
unhealthy
of
boundaries.
boundaries.
Oh,
Ooh, okay. So, in the name of keeping it real, because that's what we do.
yeah.
So, I remember being in college, right? Went to Valdosta State. If there's any Valdosta State University people out there, I remember at 22, in the name of looking for love,
Oh
Lord,
Lord, heavens.
I ended up. Y'all remember when there was MySpace?
Oh,
Ooh, I'm
girl,
telling my age. MySpace,
girl, I
okay?
had a top 3. Okay, okay.
And I remember meeting this guy on MySpace from Albany, y'all. Met the guy. Didn't really know him, but I thought, oh, well, we talk all the time. Ended up dating this fool. That was a very toxic relationship. Very toxic. Because I didn't know my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly didn't have any boundaries either. But I know I didn't have any boundaries.
Mhm.
And I say that because this dude would have like, I don't know, I think he was just trying to be like controlling, but he would
Mhm.
always be like, I don't want you hanging with none of your guy friends because all you want to do is have sex with them. And then he would
Mhm.
intentionally get into arguments with me. And then when
Mhm.
I say, you know what, I don't want to argue with you, just let me leave,
Yeah.
let me get out the room. This
Yeah.
fool would get in front of the doorway and wouldn't let me leave.
Oh.
And wouldn't let me leave.
Oh.
And when I would
Mm.
try to push him out the way, he would hold me down. Hold me down. Yeah. And it
Girl.
got to a point where I was like, okay, he's
Mm-mm.
already holding me down.
Time to go.
And then would make comments about me being stupid.